to do the granny square ripple stitch. What you need is a crochet hook and some scrap yarn. Once you have all of these materials, let's head over to the table and get started. See you soon! In order to do the granny square ripple crochet stitch, you want to start off with a multiple of 18 chains. And for this sample, I did 36 chains plus 6. So I just need to add 2 more. And that will bring my total to 42 chains. So once you've got your 42 chains or your multiple of 18 plus 2, we can go ahead and get started with the granny square ripple. The first row of the granny square ripple is often the hardest part of the entire pattern because you are creating the foundation row upon which you will be building your granny square clusters. And to start off, we are going to skip the first 6 chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we are going to work 3 double crochets into the 6th stitch, or the 6th chain. So insert your hook through that loop, pull up a loop, and complete a regular double crochet. And just yarn over and do that 2 more times, and you will have your first double crochet cluster. And this will be worked entirely with the double crochet stitch. To continue on, we are going to skip the next couple of chains, 1, 2, and then we are going to work another cluster right into this 3rd chain. So yarn over and do 3 double crochets right into that cluster. And there's 1. There's 2. And there's 3. We are going to skip 2 more chains. So this stitch right here, or rather this chain and this next chain, and work another cluster into that chain stitch. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. So right now your cluster should be looking something like this, and you should have a total of 3 clusters of double crochet plus the chain. The 1, 2, 3, 4 chains right here. Or rather the 5 chains right here. So there we go. That's the starting point of your granny square ripple stitch. In order to create the bottom portion of the ripple stitch, we are going to skip 5 chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we are going to work a cluster of 3 double crochets right into this 6th chain. And because we are skipping over so many chains, you may want to take a little bit of time just working into that chain. So there's 1. We are going to skip these next couple of chains and do another cluster into the 3rd. Alrighty. So you should have 1, 2, and do one more. So 1, 2, skip and work into that third. So you should have a total of 3 clusters of double crochets going up. And then we will work the peak or the top of the ripple. In order to keep this consistent with 3 clusters going up the side and 3 clusters going down the side, we are going to chain 3, and then work another cluster right into the same cluster that we made our previous double crochet 3. So go ahead and do another cluster of 3 double crochets right into that stitch or that chain, and that will form the top of the belly or the top of the ripple. So there's 2, and then there's 3. We are going to do 2 more clusters of double crochet, and I will bring this back down to the belly. So skip these next 2 chains, work into that third stitch, and do another cluster. So just insert your hook through that loop and draw up a loop. And once you are done with this first row, it will get a lot easier to work the granny square ripple, because you will be working into the gaps between each granny square cluster. Okay, so there's my second cluster. I'm going to skip this next couple of stitches, or these next couple of chains, so 1 and 2, and work my last cluster into the third chain. There's the third. To make our second belly, we are just going to skip 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and work into that stitch chain. And we are just going to work a cluster. There we go. We are just going to skip the next couple of chains, so 1, 2, and work into that third. And right now you should have a total of 2 granny square clusters right there, after you've gotten the second cluster done. Alright, to finish off the row, we are going to skip 2 more, and then do 3 clusters into that last chain. We want to chain 3, There we go. And do one more cluster into that very last stitch, and that just makes it even with the very first cluster of the rope. And there we go. There's that last double crochet stitch. So this is what your little ripple stitch should look like. And it's got the little cool V shape. So it starts here, goes down, goes up, goes down again, there's the little valley, and then it goes back up. And that is how you do the first row of the granny square ripple. For round 2, we want to yarn over and chain 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to flip our work, and from here on out we are just going to be working within the gaps of each granny square and skipping the valley and working the top to keep it consistent. So I'll go ahead and show you what I mean by that. So, because we are working the top, we are going to yarn over, do 3 clusters of, sorry, not 3 clusters, we are going to do a cluster of double crochets. So there's 2 and 3. We are going to chain 3. So there we go. And work another cluster in that same space. And that just keeps it consistent. So there's 2 and 3. We are going to work another cluster right in this space right here. So there's 2. Working our second cluster as we go. And then work the third cluster right in here. There's 1, 2, and 3. Now once you've reached this space right here, we are going to repeat what we did for the first round and just skip over those chains and work a cluster into the next space. We're just going to continue along working into the gaps until the end of the row. And that is what you will be doing for the rest of this pattern. So go ahead and complete this second row, and I will meet you back and show you what to do at the end of row 2. Okay, at the end of your row, you should have the chain that you did from the very beginning, and we are going to put 2 clusters of double crochet right there just to finish it off. So go ahead and do 1 cluster, which is 3 double crochets, chain 3, and do 1 more double crochet cluster at the end of your row. And now just keep it consistent with what you did at the very beginning. And there we go. That is the end of row 2. Now as you can see, it just made your ripple stitch just look thicker. And at this point you can change color if you want, or continue on in the same color. So I hope you guys have fun learning how to do the granny square ripple stitch. It's a great stitch for using up the rest of your stash that you have on hand. And it's a fun stitch to use for different blankets and throws. I hope to see you all next week. Goodbye!